Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another great episode of The Human Role. Thanks so much for joining and listening in today. So, as mentioned at the end of the last episode, I have a very special guest, Kate Frost. Kate Frost is a client relationship executive at PwC. Welcome, Kate.
Hi, Tiana. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be with you today and learn from you. And let's get going.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So you guys, this episode, of course, is about HR transformation. So if anyone isn't familiar or versed with Kate and her background, I'm going to give her a second just to kind of go through and provide you her experience. And then very much so tag teaming from the last implementation episode, we're going to lead in now to HR transformation, what that looks like, and really take a deep dive into the C-suite executives and what their expectations are. So Kate, I'm going to give you the floor, let you just kind of go through your background and experience for those in my network that have not, come across you before, and then we'll kick it off and get into some in-depth questions.
Sounds great. Thank you. So as Tiana said, I am a client relationship executive at PwC, and I am focused on the consumer markets industry. My role involves developing long-term client relationships, leading sales pursuits, and executing strategies to address clients' unique challenges. I have over 20 years in professional services business development, and what I'm most passionate about is driving growth, enhancing efficiency, and building strong client relationships with organizational and functional leaders.
Yes, perfect. Look, that is perfect for what we're going to talk about today, especially because we're now getting into the year-end madness. There's lots of clients going through implementations or potentially thinking about doing implementations, whether they're ready for it or not. And of course, HR is evolving, not only with, COVID that hit a couple years ago, but with, of course, the AI that's coming. So things are more digital. So I'd like to get your insight. Let's go ahead and get right into the meat and potatoes of things. Kate, curious on what you see as the most significant trend when it comes to HR transformation today.
Sure. At PwC, as I'm sure a lot of you know, right, this is a big space for us and something that we're constantly focused on and really listening to our clients, but also using our experts to kind of help clients through transformational needs. And not unlike other administrative functions like finance or information technology, we see HR trending towards a strategic, tech-driven, and employee-centric HR function. This is crucial for navigating the complexities of today's business landscape and preparing future challenges. So we've identified 6 different themes or trends in HR transformation. The first one is digital maturity. We're seeing HR leverage AI and predictive analytics to automate tasks and make data-driven decisions, which frees up time for strategic initiatives. Hybrid work models. We know this shift to hybrid work is here to stay, but it requires new management approaches for remote teams to maintain engagement and productivity. The employee experience is next. We see enhancing the employee journey through meaningful work, career advancement opportunities, and a culture of trust and collaboration as a key focus for HR leaders going forward. Upskilling and reskilling. So continuous learning and development programs are critical to address skill gaps and prepare the workforce for future challenges. Diversity, equity, inclusion, something we all probably know very well, but we see this as needing to be integrated into business strategies to create a more inclusive workplace and drive innovation and growth. And then lastly, strategic workforce planning. So advanced analytics are being used for workforce planning so that we can better align talent management with business goals and address future needs.
That's perfect. So this really ties back into really solidifying past episodes of what we really talked about. So digital maturity, I think really falls in line with AI taking over a lot of the mundane, tedious work, right? And so I've always encouraged my network to now start focusing on being more strategic, right? And that way, as the world is evolving, we need to consistently evolve and then, take into effect AI. Let's not run from it. It's here. Of course, hybrid work is definitely a thing. So if your company is not fully remote, a lot of employees are looking for that flexibility. And so I have been saying in a lot of past episodes that this is now no longer what seems like to be an employer market. It's really employee focused and employee phase. And then, of course, the culture, the employee experience, and then upskilling, making sure that employees have that growth. But then I did recently do a DEI and B. I didn't realize belonging needed to, at one point. I know that's been coming, but it's like every moment, but that's heavily in the news now, right? Where some people are trying to make certain changes and that's triggering some conversation as well. So I think those are all really, really great topics. I was excited when you sent over the slide because it really just like nails it perfectly on what we definitely have been talking about, but also have been seeing across, multiple companies.
Yeah. And just to put a finer point on it too, Tiana, right? Any of these as standalone issues or trends are pretty tough nuts to crack, right? And I'm sure we're all doing some of these rather well. But yeah, just making sure that I even look at these and think, wow, these are all each on their own very big themes. But there are ways, we certainly help clients kind of break it down and bite off smaller pieces to chew on, because as we know, we're not going to tackle all of these in a few months or maybe not even a year.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, look, I think as we go through the transformation, so these are obviously the buckets that Kate is talking about that we feel like HR people, HR peeps, I like to call them, need to really heavily focus on and try to plan out and map out what is really high priority for your current culture, because it'll differ for everyone. But then also getting that executive buy-in, right? Because that is very, very critical. And sometimes, our C-suites don't necessarily understand or maybe focus on other things in the business. So with your expertise, Kate, I'm curious on what CEOs, CFOs, COOs, what they're most concerned about when it comes to HR transformation.
Hey, I'm Katie Van Horn. And I'm Jackie Clayton. We're your hosts of the Inclusive AF podcast, where we take on DEI, leadership, and HR without all the corporate fluff. That's right. We've got decades of experience, a lot of opinions, and zero tolerance for performative anything. Every week, we dig into what it really takes to build inclusive workplaces with honesty, strategy, and a few side eyes. We'll talk about the tough stuff, power dynamics, privilege, what's broken in the system, and how we can all do better. And don't worry, it's not all heavy. We bring receipts, laughs, and real talk from people actually doing the work. Think of it as your weekly dose of truth, tips, and a little tea to help you lead with intention and show up for your people. So if you're ready to push past the buzzwords and get into the actual work of inclusion, you're in the right place. So subscribe to the Inclusive AF podcast. New episodes drop every week. Catch us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be here breaking it down one inclusive convo at a time.
So we have I think this is one of the really cool things about, not unique to PwC, but a lot of the big four, right? We have the means to survey a lot of the C-suite, right? And usually can do it every year in some way, shape, or form. So we do have a lot of data, and we'll just hit on some of the high points from the surveys from the last couple of years here. But just wanted to note to your audience, right? These are all publicly available on our website, but also happy to kind of do a deeper dive with anyone if they're interested. So I pulled out these 5 themes here that we kind of hear loud and clear from the C-suite. In no particular order, I'll say talent acquisition and retention. That is definitely one of the biggest concerns for executives. It's finding and keeping skilled employees, right? We know that that's one of the biggest investments of companies is recruiting and hiring. And we know once we train them up, we don't want them to go away, right? So 28% of employees are likely to change jobs within the next year, which is just highlights the ongoing challenge of talent retention. And I think that's further punctuated by the fact that in our 2022 survey, the figure was 19%. So it's definitely increasing. The second one, digital transformation, as we talked about earlier, leveraging advanced technologies like AI and generative AI in HR processes where possible. we saw that 74% of HR leaders plan to use generative AI to support new business models within the next 12 to 18 months. And this investment is aimed at streamlining operations, improving decision-making, and enhancing the overall employee experience. Cost cutting and cost optimization, it remains a priority, but there's also this dual focus on reinvesting the savings into initiatives that improve the employee experience. 87% of CHROs reported evaluating new ways to deliver HR value at a lower cost, which emphasizes the importance of balancing efficiency with employee satisfaction. And as we stated earlier, enhancing the employee experience is essential. So what that means is creating a meaningful work environment, fostering career development, ensuring employees feel valued and connected to the company's purpose and goals. We saw that fewer than half strongly or moderately agree that their employer provides adequate opportunities to learn new skills. This is particularly important for workers considering leaving. We see that 67%, 2/3, say opportunities to learn new skills are a key factor in any decision to job switch. And then lastly, hybrid work models. 62% of employees prefer a mix of in-person and remote work, reflecting the global shift towards more flexible working arrangements and the need to effectively manage remote teams to maintain engagement and productivity.
That's perfect. So look, to me, not a surprise that cost is one of the top tier. And then of course, when we're talking about digital, because there's a lot of companies now trying to figure out what AI means and how to use it, right? The human element, you guys, as I've always said, is still going to be a factor, especially in our space and when we talk about HR and payroll. But there are definitely some things that are probably going to go into the AI functionality. And I guess, I'm not too totally surprised that talent acquisition retention is a little bit lower. But my hope is that with the employee experience and the flexibility of hybrid work, that maybe the tenure is hopefully there. That also includes retention, which is kind of low, but maybe that'll kind of take a turn. But these are really interesting numbers to see. That's why I zoomed in earlier, just so everyone can really get this real-time data, right? You guys, these are real-time surveys coming from the executives, from the PwC side. And so really much of an eye opener to kind of look at is to get into your C-suite executives' mind and brain and help you kind of understand where their focus is. And so with that, leading into kind of my next question I was curious to pick your brain about, Kate, is, when you're sitting in an HR seat and as we see these numbers, from a business perspective, through a C-suite executive, cost is a big thing. You want to move towards AI and kind of keep up with the digital side of things. However, from an HR stance, what you see on the lower end is HR is really about the human aspect, right? And the employee experience of things and making sure we're bringing in top talent. And with employee experience, hopefully keeping our talent, right? So that the retention is high. So I feel like sometimes that could be a difference of issues, right, when it comes to the HR seat and the C-suite executive seat. So what advice, anyone struggling, out there with communicating the certain importance of the employee experience being a little bit more important than a cost savings or a digital savings, what advice would you give to any HR leaders on how to communicate how important that piece is to their executives?
I think it's always a challenge, right? And try to put yourself in their shoes, right? They've got things coming at them a million miles an hour. They're having to change priorities and whatnot. And, frankly, like you said, Tiana, HR, it affects almost all aspects of the business. So I think my first piece of advice would be just making sure that your HR initiatives are aligned with the business goals. So just demonstrating how HR transformation can support and drive the key business objectives, revenue growth, cost savings, competitive advantage. Show how the initiatives that you have, that you're planning to undertake are integral to achieving overall business success. And make sure too that you collaborate with other functions to learn more and share ideas. Where has IT had success? Where has marketing had success, right? Maybe you can take some of those pointers as well. Your culture best, your environment best, the communication styles of your leaders best, and kind of pull all that together to make sure the way you're presenting the information and the data is something that will be easily digestible and understood by the C-suite. On that note of leveraging data and analytics, to the extent that you can provide concrete evidence to show or prove your points, that's obviously going to help. You certainly can we have industry cuts of some of these surveys that I just mentioned, right? If I can help bolster your arguments and things like that from just an industry perspective, I'm happy to share those with you. But I think, presenting metrics that show improvements in productivity, employee engagement, turnover rates, anything you have historically that can help make your argument or prove, where you want to take the function, I think will really resonate with the C-suite. And then lastly, I think just emphasizing talent retention and development, stressing the importance of attracting and retaining top talent through HR transformation initiatives, and highlight how upskilling programs and enhanced employee experiences can reduce turnover and improve talent acquisition. I mean, we know that our employees are the most valuable part of the organization. And so I think hitting that message home using, the other tactics we just outlined should help.
Yeah, that's perfect. Look, I would say definitely the data part and analytics part, I think are really going to get your C-suite executives' attention, right? Especially if you can confirm, hey, look, this may help with ROI, I think that's always a plus to do when you're talking to your C-suite. Sometimes that's just that business mindset, right? And so you have to literally know who you're talking to, figure out what they specifically need. Do they want a long and drawn out presentation, or are they just like, give me quick bullet points, only have 5 minutes, So you really need that tagline to catch their attention. So that was perfect. I really like that idea too. You guys just make sure if you need support with that, definitely Kate will be added and attached to this post. So definitely reach out to her to get any type of insight and see how she can help you out with those messages to your executives, because you may only get one time to say that. So you want to make sure you make a really good impression with them. So with that being said, say we get past the toughness of your C-suite executives and we're on to, transforming the HR space. What have you seen on your side to be some common challenges that organizations run into when going through this process? And then also maybe any details on how they've overcome those?
So I don't think any of these will come as a surprise, but maybe some of the tips to overcome them will be some sort of inspiration. So the first is just a simple resistance to change, right? Employees and managers may resist changes due to fear of the unknown, loss of control, discomfort with new technologies or processes. So I think engaging employees early in the transformation process by clearly communicating the benefits and involving them in the planning and implementation stages will really help. Training programs and continuous support can also help ease that transition. Obviously, people respond to and deal with change all differently. So, explore a variety of options to make sure that you're capturing all of your different constituencies and audiences. Secondly, the integration of new technologies. We know this is kind of a constant as well, implementing new technologies, AI, automation. It can be complex and it may disrupt existing workflows. So ensuring that employees are proficient with new tools is also a significant hurdle. We're back to the comprehensive training, providing that for them and resources to help employees adapt to new technologies. And something else to think about is a phased implementation and pilot programs. This really allows organizations to adjust and refine processes before full-scale rollouts. So maintaining employee engagement and productivity. Any transformation of any size can disrupt daily operations and in fact affect employee morale and productivity. So ensuring that employees remain engaged and motivated during the transition is crucial. Fostering a positive work culture by recognizing and addressing employees' concerns is also key. And make sure you regularly solicit feedback and make adjustments based on the employee input that you get.
Yeah, look, that's great. I would say, you guys, if you listen to the last episode, we also talked about that communication piece, right? So when you're going through any type of implementation, this also consists of that as well, right? When you're making changes, communicate out to your employees as much as possible. Naturally, there may be some things that may or may not be able to be disclosed, but a good call on that was talked in the last episode was really about just sending out newsletters, right? And maybe there's different newsletters for different populations, different groups. Maybe there's one newsletter for the full population of your employees, but then maybe there's a different newsletter for like your management team, right? Supervisor team, director team. So those are all good things. So I was really excited to see that that was also included, Kate, within your slides, because people are scared now. We're scared with the AI stuff. People are afraid of losing their job. What does this mean for them in the future? And just like everything, right? I'm sure when books went electronic, I'm sure the libraries were scared. I've said this a couple of times, like libraries still exist. Like, you may not recognize it, at all, but I'm sure when Wi-Fi came out, the dial-up was also a change. So there's always a change. I feel like that's just what AI is doing. So I think that's really great to keep that communication piece going. All righty. And so look, now let's get into the future as we kind of look to the next 5 to 10 years. And to everyone out there, this is just a disclaimer, like we're in this current moment right now, so we can't really say for sure like what is actually going to happen. But what we kind of are seeing, we're just going to give you our opinion and, certain things that we're seeing that are going on right now. Obviously, things are changing by the minute. But Kate, how do you see the role of HR evolving over the next, some odd years? And how do you think technology is going to play a role in that?
What we've seen, again, talking to a lot of HR leaders across industry, across geography, globally, across company size, are really three main things. So one, HR as a strategic business partner, which I think is huge and extremely positive, right? So we see HR transitioning from a support function to a strategic partner, integral in shaping business strategies and driving organizational success. We think that leaders will be key players in high-level decision-making processes. And as we stated before, obviously making sure they're aligned to the overall business goals. Advanced analytics and AI are going to play a key role in this as well, providing insights into workforce trends and performance, facilitating data-driven decision-making. And these predictive analytics will help HR forecast workforce needs and proactively address potential challenges. Secondly, a theme that has been woven throughout, the focus on employee experience and well-being. That's not going away. It didn't just come up from COVID, as we know, but it's certainly not going away. Enhancing the employee experience and well-being will become a central focus for HR. And this includes creating a supportive and engaging work environment, offering personalized career development opportunities, and promoting work-life balance. We really see a shift to personalized platforms and digital tools to enable tailored employee experiences, from customized development programs to wellness resources, real-time feedback systems, et cetera. And also the use of technologies like virtual and augmented reality to enhance training and onboarding processes. And then lastly, an emphasis on agility and flexibility. So we see HR needing to cultivate a culture of agility and flexibility to be able to respond to rapid changes in the business environment. And this will involve developing agile talent strategies, promoting continuous learning, and supporting flexible work arrangements. Things like cloud-based HR platforms and collaboration tools will help facilitate these flexible work arrangements and enable more seamless communication among remote and hybrid teams. And AI-driven tools will support quick reskilling and upskilling initiatives to meet evolving business demands. So just how we see business rapidly changing and evolving day to day with regulations and across the landscape, across functions, HR is going to be very much in that mix. And so we will definitely look to technology and other ways of making sure that the workforce is effectively upskilled, reskilled accordingly.
Yeah, look, there goes that strategic. So that's like perfect. As we've been saying, definitely for months now, it's like we've got to learn to be able to strategize a lot more, right? And so things that may have taken like job descriptions or something that may have taken you forever to do, there's definitely systems that can do that. Of course, you can use AI to kind of help with that. You still need to review things, of course, but maybe instead of taking you like 20 hours or so, it kind of cut that in half or a little bit less, right? So that's great. And then, of course, the employee experience and the flexibility. So you guys, you've heard it from an expert here, right? So I think it's perfect to kind of just reiterate and then really solidify that this is where the future is going and what we need to kind of start planning for if someone out there has not already. But before I let you go, Kate, I wanted to kind of get your insight on this because I heard through a couple little birdies that PwC itself has been improving its own employee experience. And I know that, I don't know if COVID had an effect on that or if that was already happening pre-COVID and that just kind of enhanced it. But I'd love to get your insight if you can share on how, if that is the case and also how like that's been going.
Yes. It's really fun when we are able to kind of talk about our own journey for sure. And it's, we've called it our 3-year people experience journey at PwC. And we're actually in our 3rd year, which is kind of exciting because I do think that we have a lot to show for it. So we call our people experience My Plus. It's our reimagined people experience. And after our people team surveyed many of us across the board in all functions, from partners all the way down, we decided to focus in 4 areas. So well-being, total rewards, development, and then always a PwCer. So what that last one means is essentially support both inside and outside the firm. So even when you become part of PwC alumni, you're still supported. And so the whole goal is to create a more engaged, healthier workforce. And we've implemented some really cool things. So the things I was talking about, referencing personalized experiences, we very much have that. For example, we have a tool called My Marketplace, where you can search for all openings inside of PwC based on filtering criteria. And it will actually push recommendations to you if you're looking for opportunities within the firm. We have, of course, for total rewards, a whole transparency kind of dashboard now that I can look at anytime to see, from compensation to vacation to all of that sort of thing. And so I'm happy to share more. We actually put together some guiding principles from our lessons learned through this journey. So would be happy to share. Maybe I'll come back on another edition, but happy to share those guiding principles as well, because we like to, as we go through this experience, we want to make sure we share that with others and with our clients. So, you can learn from or take from us.
Yeah, that's perfect. So great insight. Absolutely. We will definitely get on another episode to kind of discuss that in more detail and take a deep dive. But anyone who can't wait for that, definitely reach out to Kate directly. And I'm sure she'll give you enough insight to kind of help get you through, especially if you find yourself in a pickle and you need that support right now. But outside of that, I will get with Kate so you and I can plan what the next episode looks like, because I love to get that insight. It is much needed. We're getting into year end. We're approaching January 1. So I know a lot of HR payroll people out there would definitely need that. I love that insight. So really appreciate you offering.
Sure. Well, it was a pleasure, Tiana. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, so glad. Thank you so much for joining, Kate. We will see you soon on another episode. And to everyone out there, thanks so much for listening in. Please be sure to reach out to Kate, reach out to myself if you need anything. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And then next up for the next couple of weeks, we'll be taking deeper dives into the hiring trends. We're also going to get into, of course, benefits as we are now into open enrollment season. So watch out for those episodes. If you need anything, definitely send us a note and we will see you next time. Bye.